Hi there, welcome to kneppyinvests. Over the past few months, I have heard quite a bit of chatter about a company called Develop Global. Now, I knew nothing about this company just 1 month ago, but because of this chatter and some of the things I have heard, including this is a mini mineral resources, got me interested in doing a little bit more research on this company. And I was going to release this video in the middle of July. I had a schedule all set out. And then Develop Global went into trading halt on the morning of July 3rd and made an announcement in regards to a fairly major acquisition and capital raising. So I thought instead of waiting a couple of weeks to do a video on this company, today was the day. So this is an introduction to a really interesting company on the ASX called Develop Global. When I first start researching companies, apart from actually understanding what the company does, I look for who is involved in running the company. And when it comes to Develop Global, it is quite impressive the names this company have brought on board. And I'll talk about that in a second. And based off the names they've brought into the company, it should be no surprise that this company has devised or developed a 5-year business plan. And this is exactly what I'm looking for in every single company I'm researching. I want a long-term plan. I want a roadmap to where the company is trying to get to in the future. And this 5-year business plan tells us what this company is actually doing. It's a hybrid business model, fairly similar to what Mineral Resources has done over the past decade. And that hybrid business model is a mining services division. And in fact, Develop Global seems to have developed their mining service division from scratch. And it is already paying dividends, not in terms of real dividends in terms of money, but paying dividends in terms of that division is seeing really good growth. And they are expecting that division to grow significantly further in the next few years. And the other part of Develop Global's business is mining. And they have bought some mines over the past 18 months, copper mines and that sort of thing. And then the acquisition today on July the 3rd is another acquisition of a mining company, which is a diversified from copper, gold. Those are the sort of mines that this company is trying to develop into production right now. So it looks like this company is definitely going down the mineral resources road, which is why when I first heard about this company, someone tried to explain this company as a mini mineral resources. And I completely understand why that person said that. Apart from the lithium mining company that Develop Global has acquired on July the 3rd, Develop Global have 3 other mining projects. Now, one of these mining projects, they only have 20% ownership in, and that is Wim Creek in WA. So I'll just focus on Woodlawn and Sulfur Springs. There are other 2 projects which they do own 100% of. Now, Sulfur Springs is located in WA. That's copper, zinc, and silver. That's in the DFS stage. I'll talk a little bit more about Sulfur Springs in the next slide, but Woodlawn is another mine they have in New South Wales. That's copper, zinc, and lead. Now, that's a little bit further along than Sulfur Springs. In fact, the Woodland mine has had a history of mining in the past, and I'll talk about the Woodlawn mine in 2 slides' time. Within the Sulfur Springs project, there are quite a few different sites that hold some copper, zinc, and silver, including Sulfur Springs, which has 13.8 million tons of zinc and copper, Kangaroo Caves, which has 3.6 million tons of zinc and copper. But they have identified 3 volcanic massive sulfide fields hosting 6 known deposits. And they do mention here that these deposits can have resources totaling 40 to 50 million tons. In some cases, giant fields contain in excess of 100 million tons. So there is a lot of potential with this particular project in WA. The Woodland project is 250 kilometers southwest of Sydney or 75 kilometers northeast of Canberra. And this particular mine has had a history of profitable production between 1978 and 1998, mining zinc, copper, lead, gold, and silver. And then this particular mine was bought after 1998 by Heron Resources, and Heron Resources spent $340 million developing an underground mine, because this was between 1978 and 1998, an open pit mine. So they spent a lot of money to develop the underground mine and a processing plant. And then Heron Resources, before they can take advantage of what they spent, actually went into administration in 2021. In fact, they put this mine into care and maintenance in March 2020. So that's where Develop Global stepped in. After they saw that Heron Resources went into administration, they bought Heron Resources in 2022. And these are the particulars of that acquisition by Develop Global of the Woodland Mine. They acquired 100% of the shares in Heron Resources, which was in administration at that point in time. And if you look at the consideration here, it's much lower or much less than the $340 million that Heron Resources spent on developing the underground mine and the processing plant. The other part of Develop Global's business model, their hybrid business model, is their mining services division, which is an underground mining services company created from scratch. And not only did they create this particular mining services from scratch, they have generated a fair bit of revenue and are forecasting an explosion in revenue over the next few years. They were awarded a $400 million contract with Bellevue Gold, and they are forecasting revenue to be between $50 and $60 million in financial year 23, and an increase to between $125 and $130 million in financial year 24. And their goal is to have 2 to 3 mining agreements. When we look at the daily chart for Develop Global, we notice something significant happened on the February the 24th, 2021, when the share price of this company rose 233%. So in fact, after I started researching the company, I looked at the chart, and the first thing I wanted to understand is, why did the market get excited in February and March of 2021? In fact, the share price of this company went from, say, 50 cents all the way to a high of $4.40 in about 6 months of trading. So first step is look back at the announcements that this company released on February 24. And once you understand why the market got excited, is another reason why I am interested in this company right now. Let's go back in time to 24th of February 2021 to understand why the market got really excited about Develop Global. Now, back then, Develop Global was not a name on the ASX because they had a different name back then, Venture X Resources. But this was a significant announcement, company-changing announcement for Venture X. Bill Beaman to Cornerstone Strategic Funding Package. Now, sometimes the market will get excited about a name, and Bill Beaman is one of those names that will get the market excited, because this guy was the executive chairman of Northern Star between 2007 and 2021. And he turned Northern Star into the Goliath it is today. In fact, the share price of Northern Star once was 1 cent. Now it is over $14. So the key points of this particular announcement that sent the share price of Venture X up 233% and turned it into Develop Global was our Bill Beaman was going to subscribe for $8.9 million in shares at a placement at 8 cents, with an option exercisable at 13.5 cents with a 2-year expiry date. And this was a very important company changing announcement, because now you have the name, you also have a plan. It mentions here that Bill Beaman will lead a recapitalization of VentureX designed to set up the company for growth as a supplier of new generation energy and technology materials. And this is why the market got really excited about Develop Global. So let's have a look at some of the facts in regards to Develop Global. Now, this company actually listed way back in 2009 as another company called Jut Holdings, and then Jut Holdings turned into Venture X, and then Venture X turned into Develop Global after Bill Beaman got involved. Now, currently, Bill Beaman owns 19.4% of the company. And then if you look down at the second biggest shareholder in Develop Global, you'll notice Mineral Resources. In fact, they own 12.9% of Develop Global. So to think that this is a mini mineral resources, even potentially mineral resources thinks this company has potential. And in fact, not only does Develop Global have Bill Beaman, one of the most respected names when it comes to mining in Australia, but Chris Ellison, who is involved with mineral resources, is another highly respected person when it comes to mining in Australia. In fact, I have heard some say that Chris Ellison is the best capital allocator in Australia. And that is something I am looking for. It makes me wonder why I'm not a shareholder of mineral resources right now. Now, the current market cap before this acquisition of essential minerals or metals is or was $613 million. That's a share price of $3.39. So the share price is significantly higher than it was when Bill Beaman got involved. Shares an issue 180.8 million. That's going to go up significantly because of this acquisition. And the ticker code is DVP. So I've already talked about Bill Beaman and why he's highly respected. He's the managing director of this company. And if you just go through the history here, he is a mining engineering graduate from the Western Australian School of Mines, has 25 years of experience. It just mentions here, he led the growth of Northern Star Resources from a 1-cent shell to an ASX 50 company with a market cap of over $15 billion. So again, this is why the market is exciting about the appointment and the money that Bill Beaman has put into Develop Global. One of the more exciting things about Develop Global is that this company does release a quarterly report. So quarterly activities report and quarterly cash flow reports. Now, it's a 5B, not a 4C, but the Appendix 4C and the Appendix 5B are very similar. The only difference is that 5Bs are issued by mining companies and 4Cs are issued by non-mining companies. And the main thing we want to see here is growth in receipts over time and whether the company is operating cash flow and free cash flow positive. And for the March quarter, and we will actually get the June quarter results within the next 3 to 4 weeks because we are now in July, which is quarterly reporting month. And anyway, the most important thing here is receipts of customers, $19.6 million. And Develop Global was operating cash flow positive by almost $6 million for the quarter and $3.6 million for the first 9 months of the year. Now, what I have included here is the cash on hand and also investing activities. And this company did spend $1.8 million on capital expenditure, $2.1 million on exploration and evaluation, $5.8 million on non-current assets, which is mined properties. And that means they burned through almost $10 million in investing activities. They also spent $2 million on the repayment of lease liabilities, but they also received $2.1 million in the exercise of options. So overall, the cash on hand actually did fall from $26.6 million to $23 million. Now, one of the things I always look at when I do look at Appendix 5Bs and 4Cs is Section 7, which talks about the financing facilities, which is important for a company like Develop Global. So Section 7 just tells us how much debt this company has, how much unused financing facilities they have, and also the particulars of the financing facility. So it is, in my opinion, one of the most important sections of the Appendix 5B or 4C, even though it's towards the end of the report. So at this point in time, the company has $24.2 million of financing facilities they are using, $21.8 million of unused financing facilities. So a lot of leg room moving forward for the company. They have financing facilities with Sandvik, drawn to $20.2 million, doesn't mention any interest rates there. They also have a financing facility with CBA, drawn to $4 million. They also have one with Epiroc, which is undrawn at this point in time. Now, let's briefly discuss this acquisition of essential metals that Develop Global is making. Now, it's very important to know here that there is another proposed acquisition of essential by another company called Tianq Lithium, and that was at a share price of 41.5 cents, which was made on the 30th of June, 2023. So not that long ago. So this is at a higher price at 56 cents. So that's a 62.3% premium. And essential metal shareholders will receive one Develop Global share for every 6.18 essential shares. So essential metal shareholders will just become Develop Global shareholders. So this applies an evaluation of essential metals of $152.6 million. Now, this particular company owns a project called Pioneer Dome, which is 130 kilometers south of Kalgoorlie. Haven't really looked at essential metals and this particular project, but this is just Develop Global transitioning or strategically aligning themselves within lithium. They're also doing a capital raising. So let's talk about the capital raising in the next slide. So the company is also doing a $50 million capital raising, which comprises $30 million institutional placement and also a $20 million 1-for-29 accelerated non-renounceable entitlement offer. And the most important thing here is, what is the price of this particular capital raising? And it's at $3.20, which is not much of a discount to the current share price, which is 7.5% discount, and only a 3.5% discount to the 5-day VWAP, which is at $3.32. So what is Develop Global going to do with this $50 million? And they provide that information in this particular slide. Funds will be used to accelerate the development of Pioneer Dome. So they will be using some of these funds because of this acquisition, but they're also going to use these funds to prepare for the resumption of production at Woodlawn, also further drilling at Woodlawn as well. Now, very important to note that Bill Beaman will take up his full entitlements, and Mineral Resources will participate in the capital raising on a pro rata basis as well. Now, it's very important to understand how the company will look like after the capital raising. When I say look like, I'm talking about market capitalization, the amount of shares, debt, net cash, enterprise value, all those sort of things. And fortunately, the company does provide the pro forma numbers within their presentation. So ordinary shares increased to 241 million, and assuming the share price will be $3.20. That means the market cap of the company will be 771 million. But more interestingly enough, cash on hand will increase to 81.7 million. Debt won't increase. We'll say at exactly the same level at 24.2 million, which means net cash has increased. So they've gone from being net debt 1.2 million to net cash of 57.5 million, which means the enterprise value will only have increased from 627 million to 714 million. So in terms of enterprise value, the valuation of the company hasn't increased by $100 million. So it's increased by less than what Essential Metals is actually valued at right now by the acquisition. That's all I have for this introduction to Develop Global, a company I didn't know anything about just 1 month ago. And then I started hearing more and more people talk about this company. And as soon as I heard someone say this is a mini mineral resource, I just had to take a look at Develop Global. And there are some really interesting things when it comes to this company, particularly when it comes to Bill Beaman, particularly when it comes to Mineral Resources having a fairly large stake in this company. So down the path, there is potential, just potential at this point in time, that Mineral Resources takes over this company. Now, whether Bill Beaman allows that, who knows? But possibly there is a good relationship between Chris Ellison and Bill Beaman. So there are a lot of things to like about this company. Now, don't look at the financial state right now, because if you look at the past history, financial history of the company, nothing to like. So it's all about the future. And because of the history of Bill Beaman, there's a lot of things to like about the possible future, the possible path to profitability of Develop Global. So if you have any questions, any thoughts about Develop Global, love to hear them. So leave them in the comment section of this video. Otherwise, I am not a financial advisor. If you do need financial advice, make sure you seek out someone who is qualified and can speak to your own financial needs. That's it for this video. Have a good day. Bye.